center.
Right, that'll depend on the assessments that are still going on.
Right.
And once we get those, we'll be able to give everyone an idea of how long it's going to take to actually do the fix. They were just sort of doing this in parts. I mean, obviously, right after we did as much prep as we could before the hurricane. We immediately went in after the hurricane, so people did see a lot of activity at these sites. We just wanted to be clear, it wasn't regular construction activity, it was mitigation. We had people come in right away, pump the water out. In a lot of cases, we had to remove drywall to make sure that there was no potential mold. We had to pump water out. The water that you saw at the community center was not necessarily just the water in the community center. Like many buildings in New York, we have subcellars, so we were pumping all of that out. So for the first week or so, we were really working on stabilizing these sites and making sure that there was no further damage. Once we were able to do that, then the assessments started to happen. And it's a tedious process of testing wires and mechanical equipment. So we're hopeful that we will have all of that done by the end of the year, and we'll be able to give a good timeline as to when we're going to be back up in work.
You start working from south to north. However you prefer. It will only take a few more days before the Liberty View Ice Rink in BatteryPark City will be opening. If anybody's been down to the south, there's a chiller that's running about 950 gallons worth of a corn-based liquid refrigerant that will be going through tubes in a 60 by 120 foot, right now it looks like a pool, frankly, but at 60 degrees it's supposed to be making ice, but that there'll be roughly 4 inches of ice with room for, well, they've got 550 pairs of skates that are waiting for people to put them on. It's probably very soon. If you've seen on the BatteryPark City Authority website, we haven't yet posted the website or email address for the operator because we've already had queries, so that's a pretty good feeling because there's been largely, and one of the nice things about this is, kind of move to the others a little bit further north here. Ironically, when the RFP had gone out for potential operators, sites being offered had been for review at Wagner Park, the ball fields, and Rockefeller Park. As it turns out, the respondent to the RFP thought Wagner Park would have served the best. As it turns out, had that person chose the ball fields where they had been in 2009, the whole project would have just been demolished because of the condition of the ball fields. And as it turns out, it's not only a great public amenity, there's also a great symbolism too, because it happens to be located at that 60 by 120 foot lawn at the southern end of BatteryPark City. It's not too far from what had been flooded with, I think it was 100 million or more gallons of water in the Ucari Tunnel. And just several weeks ago, where the kids would be skating was where hordes of media were standing waiting for the onslaught of the hurricane. So it's not didn't tie in with the hurricane recovery, but its location at the time as the New York recovery continues, there's just something nice there. So we just hope that as many people as possible, if they're not already monitoring the progress on the BatteryPark City website, keep an eye out because it's really very close. Kind of flips us up mentioning the ball fields. The ball fields were very severely damaged, not surprisingly, by the water surges from the storm. There was a particularly vivid article, or photo, actually we used this, that showed the amount of water on the synthetic turf. Now the water wasn't just rainwater, it was rain, but there was storm water, storm sewer backup. There had been salt that was mixed in with the surge. But there was also whatever else from either runoff from either sewage treatment plants or whatever else was in the water that came backing up. So what we wind up having isn't just the damage to the synthetic turf and to the drainage system, we're looking only, as we were part of, again, that comeback story, the health and safety of the kids who are eventually going to be back on the fields, but it's not only the assessment that Battery Park City Authority is near completed with, and once we're complete not only with the assessment of the ball fields, but with the Pier 8 project, as well as the community center that Asphalt Green will be operating, that we'll have this package of a very open timeline as to what we expect the scope of work to be, as well as we hope the time frame. From our perspective, it can't be soon enough for all of the above projects. It's in our interest, and certainly the public's, and those who we are partners with, both at the community center and at the Pier 8, to catch up to where we had been before the storm, and then move it to get it completed and then eventually turned over. So we're set back, but we're just determined to just catch up and be where we need to be, so that both the Pier 8 project as well as the ball fields and the community center are operating for their intended purpose. One of that I forgot to mention too about the ring. We figure it'll be able to run until like mid-March, and it'll be someday a week operation.
So we're waiting here. You're waiting to hear back with more concrete answers about timeframes to get the fields in shape.
Can I add a point to the community center? If you're looking through the window, or from, it's a little more than just like kind of a casual observation, but there are 184,000 gallons of water that are going to have to be drained out of the pool, so that it can be both disinfected, the pool itself cleaned, systems have to be up and running. So there are a lot of things too that are kind of interdependent on each other, where the gym and the hardwood, while it may seem, well, the wood has to get replaced, not too large of a stretch of logic, but then the building or the air around the hardwood, because we had this happen when it was being installed the first time. There needs to be a certain temperature so that the wood is dried, so that it can be. Yeah. So now, to do the wood, which we didn't get yet, but that will be part of this timeline we're talking about, the air needs to be warmed. It needs to be warmed from a heater done by a boiler that needs to be tested to see in what kind of shape that's in. So it's like, it's funny, we're talking boilers before we're dealing with the hardwood, but it's like, it's all like one thing relates to the other. And I remember there was one of our last meetings, and I may as well just bring all of this back. We had recently gotten the various completions of permits and certifications from the different city buildings. Well, that was for facilities that are pretty much damaged, so we'll be doing that process again as well.
So you need to get a roof permit?
Sure, because, for inspections and,
Depending upon the size of the fix,
Like if you put new boilers in, that's gonna have to be.
we put new boilers in, and we're certainly hoping that we don't have to replace all of them, but we will have to have them
Right.
inspected.
Fire department, all that process.
Well, we're
Too long.
yes.
well, we're also one of many, I mean, this is one of the other things too. I mean, back when we were getting this done, originally, it was the various projects up here. There is an enormous press,
To be back
not in
on.
media sense, but a press on the various city departments to be doing relatively the same things, for the finite number of appointments and inspections and different utilities and things like that. So we're just determined to move it all forward. That there are many things that we will either know or know of sequentially, but that aren't a part of our total control because we rely necessarily on what other entities need to do.
Okay, quick question back on Pier A. You're doing an assessment on that?
Oh,
Is that
yes.
what you said?
Yes.
That's obviously gonna put back the operator getting in there, which originally was at the end of the year, right? We have on our agenda, and I'd love you to help us out, if perhaps next month we can get
Right,
full
as we,
copies to come back in and
yeah, as we
just talk about the
it.
design interior.
They're a little busy right now with
Can you
their,
imagine?
with unfortunately, their damage across West Street. So we thought it would be better to let them sort of get through that part of it, and we made a commitment to you and to Jeff and to Catherine that we would absolutely get them back in once they get up on their feet.
Good, so that was the item number 5 on our agenda. We'll hold that over for hopefully next month if they're in shape to do that. I think that would be great.
Can you advise us, I'm sorry, go ahead, Evan.
I'm sorry. And there was also a permit that was submitted to Puree to the DEC. Is there any status update on that?
I wouldn't know, it's not one of our projects, but we can certainly check and get back to you.
I'm in touch with DEC, but unfortunately they don't really find out what they got for the meeting today.
Okay, we can check on
Yeah,
that.
you can check on that. I know Gwen brought it up a couple of times when we talked about it, that there was a permit issue, or permitting required from DEC because of waterborne uses, the fact that, it's a historic pier out there on the water.
Yeah, Catherine sent a letter to DEC. I can give you a copy of it, but expressing all the concerns that we expressed. I guess it was perhaps at the September meeting about the congestion attendant to water uses. So just to, we have our concerns about that issue, that permit, as well as the plaza proposal for the same reason, congestion in the Pier A Plaza and on Pier A itself around water uses. So I don't know if you could update us on the status of the Pier A Plaza as well.
At this point, no. I mean, the last, obviously, 6 or 7, however long it's been weeks, we've been basically just focusing on making sure.
So I guess
So if you can do that
We will.
research. and let us
Absolutely,
next
we'll have
month.
that for,
Perfect.
we can get back to you on the DEC permit.
Yeah, I'm in
about the end
contact
of the
with
week.
them too. And George, just to let you know, some of the uses that we're concerned about is actually out of the authority of DEC. So they only look at the scenarios based on like environmental issues, but some of the issues we're looking at is just how much traffic it will produce for the residents in the area. So it's good for us to be aware that some of the concerns we have aren't actually there.
right, but I know that the Battery Park City Authority will then be authorizing the public caucuses and organizations according to Gwen. So I just want to register now and at every opportunity our concern about that and the congestion that is on the pier and on the plaza. So I'm taking this opportunity as well.
Question, Tammy?
Who's responsible for the street lights? Is it BatteryPark.TV authority that go by Wagner from the point of the edge of West Street where the traffic lights have been reinstalled, all the way up to First Place on Battery Place? Is that the authority? Do you have an update that you could give us on those
I think
street lights?
the lights and the poles are replaced, but there's some odd thing, so I was remembering the meeting, that the lower part of Battery Place, the wiring is in somebody else's, conduit or something, but there's been an outage.
They're out.
And I don't think it's like, I think it's just one of those unusual, I don't know whose it is, but I.
Oh, that's right, because we were actually having problems getting electricity back up at Pier A, and it was the same sort of strange conduit.
If you can let us know, then we can follow with whatever city agencies you see.
I would follow up, start with Con Ed, because I think they were they were down there working on that.
Because the others are, we do the light bulb replacements.
Right.
Yeah,
The wiring.
There's one slightly additional aspect. It's the wiring, not the replacement.
So you wouldn't know if, for example, because you have power going to the ice rink in that same location, if maybe the street lamps could therefore be powered by the same power structure that's going now that you're providing.
That's the last stretch on the,
Well, you're bringing in separate power for the ice rink.
We have a conduit on the other side of, almost on the water of Wagner, so that's where, it's, they're tying into there, they're not tying in anywhere near the street, it's almost on the water.
like the parks electricity.
Yes.
Parks of the parks.
Yeah. Okay, good. Other questions?
Yes.
Tom?
Off the subject, this is our first meeting since the superstorm, and we haven't addressed it with you. I had heard from some political people early on before we were forced evacuated, mandatory evacuated. Of course, it wasn't enforced, but that you were going to be working with the Downtown Alliance. I heard after my family and I moved wiped out due to the evacuation, that you actually had coordinated a bus that was taking people to and from Seward Park or to Seward Park. Could you tell us a little bit about that bus and how you got the information out, and maybe even elaborate a little further about your feelings about the superstorm and the residents and businesses here, and what you may see